What is up, everybody? We are back for another episode of Dark Screen Society. As always, we are joined by Chuck.
Hello.
That was terrifying. Gigi
Hello.
and Brian.
Hello.
And me, of course, Seth. Listen, if you couldn't tell by Chuck's weird voice there a second ago and his smile, we're talking about Smile 2. Unfortunately, we all ran out of Voss water, so we're walking the signature refresh from Safeway today. But Voss, if you're listening, if you want to sponsor us, we're here.
We'll fucking chug water.
They have
that's
no
right.
budget. They have no budget left.
They have no budget left. I
None.
chugged some Voss water.
Guy Riley was $100 million. Sorry.
Yep.
Listen,
Sorry.
I want to say, first of all, before we get into anything, I tried chugging a Voss water, and Sky Riley makes it look easy because it's not easy. That glass bottle, it just doesn't go down.
I feel like I could do it. I honestly, like, I want to go out. I just don't know where they sell Voss water. I feel like that's like an Erewhon thing. That
Yeah,
like,
it's a fancy thing.
Yeah, I'm like, my Kroger down the street doesn't have Voss water, but I really want to try to chug. I constantly chug water. I feel like I could do it.
Yeah.
I know where they have Voss water right now that you can go get it.
In Sky Riley's apartment.
No,
Yep.
well, yeah. Besides that, do you have Do you have Marshalls in Tennessee
Yes.
or TJ Maxx?
Yes.
If you go back to that international aisle where they sell like the spices and the coffee and stuff, I guarantee you they have Voss water.
Okay, I'm gonna go check.
Mhm.
I'm gonna literally.
Now this
gonna
is
look.
sounding like an advert for Voss water.
I know.
I mean,
That's
basically, that's what
Voss
Smile
water,
2
Voss
is.
water, Voss water.
Yeah.
It is a Voss water ad.
It is. Voss water and more Voss water.
Wait, okay. Oh, since we're still on the Voss water thing, I have to say my fucking favorite Letterboxd review on Letterboxd for Smile 2 was she handled that like a vase.
That's actually incredible.
amazing.
So good. Okay.
Someone commented on my Instagram as well. And I was like, oh, I have to say that on the podcast, but then I was like, oh, it's off Letterboxd.
That's awesome.
She handled it like a
Like
boss.
a vase.
Just like me with this hangover. We're here today. We're ready to talk Smile 2. But listen, you three didn't like it as much as me. So I want to start there. I want to talk about the things that we did like, if there was anything.
Before we do, obviously, spoilers.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
This is
Yeah,
going to
so-
be like a full spoiler episode. So if you haven't seen Smile 2,
Get the fuck out.
get
no,
the fuck
no, no.
out of here.
Save your
Put
money.
us on mute, watch the whole video, but don't listen to it. And then
Exactly.
come back after and watch us again.
That's the
Which we
idea.
get double
That's
the
the
views.
ticket. Yeah.
Hundo
That's what Brian
P.
does to Gigi.
Yeah, that's exactly what Brian does to me. Or if you like just don't want to go out to the movie and see, because honestly, I feel like it's like not as big as other movies have been, because like
No.
the reviews for them, like I feel like everybody's views on Smile 2 reviews and stuff like haven't been that good. Like, so I'm like, are people just they don't care about the sequel? I thought it was like a huge movie. So if you want to stick around for spoilers, even if you haven't seen it, then hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So last warning, we're getting into the spoilers now. So turn away. You've been warned.
So Smile 2 has an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes out of 131 reviews. And the audience score is over 500 with 84%.
Oh,
And then it has IMDb has it at 67 Metascore on 34 reviews, and it's carrying a 7.3 out of 8,000 reviews. So I would say it's above averagely reviewed.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
Like the reviews, like I was on Reddit just browsing the post on
Right.
order, and it's overwhelmingly positive.
But
Mhm.
there's
Yeah, I'm
nothing
seeing a
that
lot
can
of positive.
there's nothing that can convince me in 3 months that 7.3 is down to a 5.0 or a 5.1. Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
just like the first one.
You know, it's kind of interesting that you say that, Chuck, because when I went back to go rewatch the first Smile and then look at everybody's Letterboxd reviews on it, it was not that good. Like, I feel like more people hated the movie than they did like the movie, which is weird because I feel like when I first watched the movie, everybody loved it. Like, getting out of the theater, I thought I was like in the minority where I was like, oh, that was just like okay. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And I was like, that was okay. It didn't blow me away. And then I talked to so many people and they're like, have you seen that new movie Smile? So fucking crazy, so fucking crazy. And then like going back, I was like, oh, wait, not that many people like that I remember. So I definitely think that Smile 2 is gonna go down. Plus, it's just horror, so it always does.
Yeah, the original's down to 6.5.
You
People-
rewatched it, Chuck, right? You liked it. You
yeah,
said, or you liked it more.
I'm getting to that. Yeah, when I first seen it, I did. I'm just saying I didn't like it at
Shut
all.
up,
Like
Seth.
I didn't understand. Like, I didn't get what people seen in it. Like, it had some good scenes. I watched it the night Seth sent me a code because I was going to buy it the day before I went to see Smile 2. And I watched it again, and I liked it way more
Yes.
than the first time I seen it. Like, and if I had to compare Smile 1 to Smile 2, Smile 1 is a really fucking good movie with a mediocre carbon copy that tried to do everything that it did. Like, almost beat for beat, just with different things. Like, so what did I like about it? Because I don't want to get into that part yet, but what did I like about it was the beginning. The beginning was intense. It was Kyle Gallner, which is just, for man, woman, straight, gay, whatever you are, is just a fucking delight to look at. And he's and he's a great actor. So that whole scene was so pulse pounding and intense, in the camera work. And like, I was so in, and like, the whole time I was like, this is going to be so different. Like, I loved it. Like, I loved that. And Parker Finn's camera work is tremendous. Like, the upside down shots, the way that they had like the dancers stacked on each other going up the doorways. And there's a lot of inventive, ingenious stuff to keep you in. And all of that camera work masks a very tropey, mediocre, lackluster script that is barely holding itself together. But that camera work makes that boredom more interesting for me. So that's what I liked.
Gigi?
Honestly, same. I actually really liked that they continued the movie from like 6 days after the first movie. I loved that because I really didn't know how they were going to open it up. Because at the end of Smile, we know that Kyle Gallner is infected. So he's either going to have to kill himself or kill somebody. So we knew that it was going to open up with that. And I liked that it was like 6 days later. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Thank God I watched the Smile 1. Otherwise, I would have totally forgot. And then I totally agree with Chuck. I think that also, I loved how gory it was in this one. And like, the jump scares weren't my favorite in here because they were way overblown and way too loud. But the one with Kyle Gallner getting fucking smashed with that
Oh yeah, that
truck,
was nuts.
viscerally, I jumped out of my seat. I was like, oh!
And then his body part in half.
Dude, yes. And it was like super gory and like gutsy. I loved that. I think Parker Finn's camera work got really good, especially like the upside down shots. I think there was one too many upside down shots, but even just certain like dynamic angles that he did where I was like, ooh, this just adds, I don't, just for like my ADHD brain, I was like, oh, I'm super into this. And it was just more like tense and on the edge of your seat. I also fucking loved Naomi Scott's performance. Like 100%. She is a way better like main central character than Sosie Bacon's character. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not that I disliked her character in the first one, because I do like that she's like this you know, kind of just like moody emo girl, but I just loved Naomi Scott's performance. It was so good. I loved that she sang in it. I loved the freaking soundtrack, and it was so catchy. I've been singing that stupid New Brain movie. It's not stupid, or that New Brain song. It's so good. It's stuck in my head. And I liked the costume designs. I think they were so cool. Like the costume designs and how they did the performances. Like we got 2 big pop star movies this year with Trap and Smile 2. And I wish that they would have done what they did with Naomi Scott's character with Lady Raven. Like it was just, it felt like you were at like you were actually at like this big pop star. There was production, there was choreography, there was costumes. I was like, oh, this is really nice. I think this is what they tried to pull off with Trap, but it was like really bland. So yeah, there were things that I liked about it.
It's funny. I saw a tweet yesterday, and it was like this world tour would sell it instantly, and it was like Sky Riley and Lady Raven doing a world tour together because they're both real singers. Like, could you imagine if they actually like did a tour?
No. So it was. I loved it that they showed more of like with Trap. We just got a ton of like that one central concert, which yes, it only happens at one concert, but it was like, I don't know. It didn't really feel, everything just felt very staged. Whereas like with Naomi Scott and Smile 2, it just felt like very glamorized and like actually very pop starry with her costumes and everything and her actual like choreography. So good.
Yeah. Brian, what about you? What did you like about the film?
So most of the stuff has been covered. A couple of things, like like we will get into stuff we don't like, I assume.
Mhm.
So
That's next.
one of the jump scares that I did really appreciate was when she's in bed next to Gemma,
Yes.
and then
The
suddenly
headlights.
the lights come through her eyes and her mouth, and I was like, okay, that got me, because there's something so like off-putting about light just coming out
Mhm.
somebody's face, so that got me. I liked the bit in the car where she's arguing with, I can't remember the
Oh
guy's.
yeah, Jack
It's Jack
Nicholson's son.
Nicholson's son.
I
Yeah.
don't know his actual
I'm
legal
gonna call him
name.
that, but
Yep.
like the way that camera was shot and it was right in their face, it was like you were like the middle passenger watching them
Mhm.
argue, and like both their performances there was phenomenal. And I was like, okay, like I didn't like them in that moment, but I was like, yeah, I'm invested in this, so that was really well done. So like I said, like some of his camera choices were excellent, just his other choices didn't quite work so well.
Yeah. I definitely think he improved upon some things with this film, like the camera work for sure. I thought the upside down shots were really cool and inventive, and I can see why they gave him Possession after this, because that's his next movie. And there were a couple good jump scares I really liked, and I loved Naomi Scott's performance. I thought it was one of the better performances of the year, and she was just absolutely incredible, especially like dealing with everything that she dealt with and like portraying that, and then chugging Voss water, of course, master of
Yeah.
chugging Voss water.
Yeah, she was.
I thought,
she was.
yeah, I thought she was fantastic, but I also like the whole entire time I was watching her, I was thinking like, because I looked her up in the theater and she hasn't been in much that I've seen.
Same.
But then I was really thinking, I was like, what would she be great in, or who would she be great working with? And even though I don't love their films, I think she would be perfect. That performance was like radio silence to me. Like I could see her in a Ready or Not type movie or something like that, because she really sold that part.
Mhm.
I think she's
Yeah.
too good for.
Wow.
I
Radio
love that.
Silence haters, get out of here. I'm sorry, Matt, if you're listening.
I literally could not believe, I mean, probably because she was so fucking hydrated with the Voss water, but I literally could not believe how she kept crying in each scene. Like, it was so believable and just so impressive, where I was like, how are you physically able to cry on command so many times? Like, it was, I just could not wrap my freaking head around it.
And pulling
Yeah,
the
she's
hair
great.
out, it was like you just felt all of her emotions. Like she was going through everything.
Yeah.
I think that was like it's gonna be like a big Kickstarter for her career,
Oh,
because
100%,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
she's been in some other good things, but this is like I think the top for sure. So
Yeah.
obviously we went through the things we liked. We got to talk about the things we didn't. So I'm gonna start. Let's start with Brian this time.
Go.
Brian this time.
Okay, so a lot of the scares were identical. So I was going to write down a list, but I think I can do them off the top of my head. So the very first scene where like she's seen the guy kill himself, and then it's like she's in the room alone, and it slowly pans, and he's in the room there with her. Exact same thing happens in the first one, except she's in the kitchen and the girl's there. The scare with the phone that happened in the first one, but it was on the
With the
laptop
headphone.
instead. The fake out with she's not actually in the car with you, and then she phones you, so it's not her. That happened in the first one, but it was the therapist, and it's like it's all the same scare. Like it's not like I don't give a fuck about lore. Like I watch Final Destination, there's no lore really there, but it's different. Every kill's slightly different, and every scare's a little bit different. Whereas this is most of them felt the same. There's a couple of unique scares, but most of them are identical. So that bothered me because it took me out of the movie, because I was like, "You've done this before. I knew it was coming." So that's one thing that bothered me. Maybe go around, because I could be on here for minutes and minutes talking about stuff I didn't like.
I'll go next, because one of the things, like, because I like this movie a little bit more than most of you guys. The one thing I didn't like about this movie is all of the misdirection. I feel like there was way too much misdirection, and it never was really clear what was going on. Like, I get it doing it a few times, and like in the first movie, they did the same thing too. But I felt like they overutilized it in this film, and it didn't really make sense. Like, you don't know what was real, and I understand that's what they're going for, but when you do it too much, it's just like, what the fuck was this movie even about? Like, her character arc doesn't make sense anymore. And it kind of just like, it's funny. I saw another thing. It was like, there's no final girl in the Smile franchise.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about that. Sorry, did you hear
Okay.
it? But what happened? So obviously, all that stuff that happened to the second half of that movie, or whenever it happened, what was happening to her in real life during that? because we just see her suddenly in the concert.
Yeah.
Was she acting normally around everybody for those 3 days? Was her mum like, yeah, she's fine, I can put her out in a concert? Or was she just like standing there, not moving? Like, what the fuck was going on with her in real life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was
that's
throwing old ladies through tables at benefits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, was
But see,
that real as well? Or was
that's what I think too, Brian, because they did so much better at that in Smile, where, for
Yeah.
example, in Smile, when she goes to kill Carl in front of her boss, and then she realizes that that was just a delusion, but she wakes up in her car. So we're like, oh, that didn't actually happen. She was just sitting in her car the whole time. But in Smile 2, where you're like, all of a sudden her mom's not dead and she's at the concert, and you're like, well, then where the fuck was she this whole time? Was she just catatonic staring at the wall in her apartment, in the dressing room, in the hospital? Was she even in the hospital? So I 100% agree with you, Seth. I think that I don't mind movies where it's like, ooh, was it real or what was
Yeah.
not? But this was like too much of where you're like, oh, well, everything just gets thrown out the window because it doesn't matter if it was real or not because you can't really explain it either way. And I don't like when it doesn't really feel earned.
Yep.
It
100%.
also means the demon is too overpowered.
Yeah.
because, like there's no rules. So at least like in a lot of horror movies, you're like, okay, if you don't go to sleep, Freddy can't get you. But with the
Mhm.
demon, there's nothing you can really do.
Yeah.
You're caught, and then like it can make you live your life for a week, and then you're dead. It's like, all right, tough shit. Like how do you defeat that?
Yeah.
Can't defeat guilt.
Right?
I think
Can't
my
defeat
biggest
guilt.
thing, like along with what Brian said, I don't like that it was like a carbon copy of like the same jump scares. Same thing with you, Seth. I didn't like that whole like, oh, was it real? What was not? It just was going on for too long. Along with the time length of it, no movie needs to be that long.
No.
But my biggest thing, and this might be so small, it might not bother other people, was that because of the length of the movie, is that in the like second half or in the middle of the movie, we're going through all of these things of her like, oh, there's these scary moments happening. It's the entity. And you're like, okay, this is like one too many times. I got it the first time, got it the second time, didn't need it 4 or 5, 6 times. And then she's like, really, like Naomi Scott's character is like, I am on death's door. I'm so fucking desperate. I'm so fucking scared. I've utilized all my resources. I reached out to my friend who I haven't spoken to. I've like been trying to talk to other people. I've been trying to look into this thing. And then she meets up with this Morris guy, which who the fuck knows if he was real, but she meets up with the Morris guy and he's telling her like all of these facts, like this is what's happening. This is
Yeah.
how I know. And she feels very validated in this moment, even though, and she's like, again, on death's door. Like she knows that like her life is like, I am literally being like pigeonholed right now. And then he's like, okay, this is what I think we need to do. And it's a very logical, yet very fucking scary. I get it because it's like you have to die and bring you
Mhm.
back. But then she's like, man, you're fucking crazy. And I'm like, we just watched an hour and a half of you spiraling
Yeah.
and just grasping at anything to understand what's happening. And then you're like, nah.
Nah.
And I was like, what the fuck? So
But-
I don't know. I'm like, it would make more sense if they didn't harp on it for so long and make her
Yeah.
downward spiral for so long, which like if I was in the situation, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like obviously something fucky is going on and I'm
Right.
gonna die. So let's try it out.
We're gonna get
I-
into Morris next.
Maybe that was
so-
just me.
No, I agree with you, but yeah.
I
Okay.
would preface all this of what everybody said with there's a scene in the middle of the movie, the scene where she actually decides to reach out and contact Gemma, and was her best friend in the movie that she was a complete fucking asshole to, because if we want to really talk about Sky Riley, she's not a good person.
Mhm.
So she's not even somebody that you like want to root for, because she's a shitty Hollywood fucking music star. But she does that really well. But that scene where she's like reconnecting with Gemma is so fucking long, and it's in the apartment and it's dark, and that the whole scene has got to be 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Like that's what it felt like. If they would have trimmed that scene to like 10 minutes, and then I could have accepted all the misdirection and everything, you know what I mean? Like, because it would have just went by so much faster that you didn't have time to like sit and pick it apart. But that's what I didn't like about it neither. Smile 2 insults the viewer's intelligence. And anybody that liked it, I appreciate. I'm not saying that you're not intelligent. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying it insults your fucking intelligence, because I love metaphorical movies. I love allegories in movies. I love movies that drop off and roll the credits and have zero explanation. Like that's my jam, and I love that. But there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. When you're questioning everything, like, okay, so she stabs her mother to death, has blood all over her fucking gown. She leaves. She gets a Desert Eagle 50 caliber gun off a security guard that would never have it in a building like that. First and foremost, shoots it with one hand with zero fucking recoil, with blood on her. If you don't think she was getting shit stomped by the time she made it to that door to get out of there, that's one thing. But like, then for it to not have even happened, how does that scene even exist? And then you find out when she's in the car with Gemma that Gemma's not really there and she's just driving. Okay, so if Gemma's not there and she's just driving and she didn't really stab her mom because her mom's at the end, then why does she have all that on her and went through there? Because like she was there driving away from it. Like, where are you driving away from? Like, there's no explanation of that. That whole entire scene was like for shock value. It makes zero sense. Shouldn't be in there. And like that insulted me because like I'm watching it. I'm like, well, did she do it or didn't she do it? But she has all this blood on her. Like, is the blood just for the viewer to see? And that doesn't really exist. And then enter where we're going to the next segment, fucking Morris.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, Chuck. That was the moment where I was like, I don't think I like this, because
that's where
like,
I checked out too.
the
Yeah, I was like, I'm
writing-
done. Yeah.
the writing felt like they didn't fully think it through. Like everything, like, okay, it was like making sense. And then I think they got to a point where like, let's do this. But they didn't actually sit and think, that doesn't actually make sense. Like when the viewer's going to sit here and be like, how is that happening? Because they did that already in the first Smile, and it
Right.
makes sense because you know where she is and you know what actually happened and what didn't. And in this movie, you're like, yeah, so if the mom didn't actually die, then why the fuck was there blood on her and why was she leaving from the hospital? Like,
So I have
I
a
will-
theory. I have a theory on that, and we'll get into that in a second. But I wanted to say too, I think because I did give this movie a higher score, and I do think Smile 1 is a better film, and I think it's scarier. I think I was really caught up in like just the like performance of Naomi Scott and how awesome it was, and that kind of just like elevated it for me. But I do think Smile 1 is a better film overall.
I think if I hadn't watched Smile 1 the day before and
Yes.
Yeah.
watched it two years ago, and I'd be like, oh, fuck, this Smile 2 is actually really good because I've forgotten all the scares. I might have liked it more, but because I just watched it, I was like, this is identical. So that's really annoying. But one thing, I will give him like a wee crumb of credit, because it's her mum that says you need to get in contact with Gemma again. And then she does, and blah, blah, blah. All this is all fake anyway. And then in the morning, she's late, and Gemma's in the apartment, and the mum walks in, and Gemma's like, hi, Elizabeth. But the mum doesn't acknowledge her. And I was like, but she should be like, oh, Gemma, you're here. Oh my God, you came.
yeah.
But there's no acknowledgement. So also, they've actually hinted that Gemma's
See,
not
I didn't
really
catch
there.
that.
I don't know. Like I didn't like when it got to the whole bit at the end where she wasn't fake, which wasn't real. I didn't connect them, but it did seem strange to me that the mum wasn't so excited to see her. But I was just like, that's probably just bad writing. But I was like, okay, so they hinted at it quite early that none of this is real.
Yeah,
I actually didn't catch that either. That's a good catch.
that is a good catch.
I think like just one last tidbit, because like there are things that are like I said that one scene was like the one that annoyed me the most. It wasn't. It just didn't make sense to me just because of the length. But what really I think what my biggest problem is that sequels are typically meant to add something new to the story, and this didn't. It was like a Smile 1.0 or like a 1.2, where it was like, you don't really need to watch the first Smile to know what's happening because they give it to you anyways. The only thing that you might need to know is why Kyle Gallner's character in the beginning did what he did, where he didn't actually kill himself. He killed somebody else, because we learn in the first Smile that you don't actually need to kill yourself. You just need to kill somebody, and there needs to be a witness. And so that's the only little piece of information from the first one that you need to know.
Right.
But otherwise, it's like, it's a completely separate film that adds no storyline. It's its own, it's Smile, but just with a different character in a different universe.
Agreed. But listen, when just what you just said, and that's why I jumped in to say this. In the first one, you had to kill somebody or kill yourself.
I thought
Mhm.
it was just kill yourself. First of all, by the way, I thought it was you. Like
Just
the only way
you
to pass it is just kill yourself.
Yes.
You can't kill anybody else. Like it has to.
No,
you
because
have to
they
watch.
mention that. They mention that in Smile 1. The guy that's in prison, he's the only one that ever escaped it, because he killed somebody, but now he's in prison, obviously, for life, but he's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
Right, that's the only way. So they alluded to how to stop it because, or
Yeah.
try to. But okay, so if that's the rules, right? You never see him actually give it to Lewis
Mhm.
in the building. We never seen it. Now we know that he got it because that's where Sky got it from. But Kyle Gallner didn't kill anybody or kill himself. He was killed. So how the fuck did it pass if he got hit by a truck and he died? Where was it to go?
But
Like
he
they
did.
Oh, he did kill. He
did
shot
kill
the
somebody.
guy.
Yeah, he shot the guy.
Right. No, he shot that guy, but he wanted to give it to that guy. But like, how did he transfer it to?
Because Lewis was in the apartment. He was the boy that was like, I'm not here for any reason.
Right, but
Like,
they didn't show it. It cut. So
No, he was behind him the whole time. He was in the
No,
room.
I
watching.
understand that. And he's seen that happen, and then he pointed the gun at him, and then it cut to him. Them other guys came, and he ran out of the building.
Yeah.
But every other time that it transferred, they showed it transferring and showed.
oh, like the big monster coming out.
That's
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but they showed
Oh.
Lewis kill himself. Everybody that transferred it, they showed them. The lady in the beginning in the therapy office, they showed them killing themselves. They never showed him killing himself. They showed him running away and getting hit by a truck. So why wouldn't it have been still him and then just released? Like that didn't make sense to me because Lewis ended up smashing that weight in his face to pass.
I think it'd been transferred before he got hit by the truck. Like he
Yes.
transferred
Oh,
it
yeah,
and
he
killed the
did.
guy, then Lewis had it.
No,
And then
I agree with that, but according kind of to the rules, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
Well-
it was cool for a shot.
kind of makes sense for me.
Yeah, no, because it does
Okay.
make sense because that's like the guy in prison. Like he shot somebody else and transferred it over, and it's like the entity didn't fully. We just didn't see the entity enter into Lewis, but it didn't actually need to like come out of Kyle Gallner because it didn't fully possess him yet.
Fair. Oh, because he was still in like his day 3.
Yes,
because it was
because
on day 6, and so
Yes.
day 6 he puts the mask on, goes in there, same as her when she met
Yeah.
Morris and the thing on day 3. Okay,
Yes,
cool. That
yeah.
makes okay, good.
So on
Still
that, the
sucks.
thing that that slightly bothered me. So obviously, what happened to Sky was huge. Like it's like fucks her constantly, and like she's a mess, and then she ends up in a concert and gives it to everybody. But Kyle Gallner didn't seem that affected. Like he was like
He
only
was
thing
pretty
that really
calm
showed.
and collected.
Yeah, the only thing they showed was that like I liked this when he was just walking in and there was just
The
a person
firelight,
outside
yeah.
Yeah, I
on fire,
loved
and I was
that.
like, what the fuck? Like, I
Yeah.
want more of that in the movie, but anyway, like he was fine, and then Lewis, like he seemed pretty calm. Like he made that video being like, guys, there's somebody in my house, and then he just panned his face in away. But like they were all quite calm, and then it's just like, no,
Yeah.
when we get to Sky though, we're going to escalate as fuck on this.
Well,
one.
that's because
Right.
Sky was already dealing with all of this like trauma and like blaming herself for the death of
yeah.
her friend. So it's like that's why it was so much more effective for her because she already was dealing with all of that. Versus like Kyle was like, the cop. He's seen all this shit before, and
I mean, Kyle
let's-
just saw
yeah.
his ex-girlfriend kill
Yeah.
herself, throw
Yeah,
herself
right.
down.
That
That
too,
would
yeah.
that'd probably fuck you up a little bit compared
Oh,
to.
just
I'd say that's-
just a little bit.
Just a
yeah.
little bit, yeah.
So like
Um,
it felt like it escalated too much for her. So
Yeah.
it would have been okay if it escalated for the others as well.
Do you know what bothered me the most out of the whole entire thing? And before we get to Morris, that in this, you could tell me if this is picky or me being like harsh on it. Okay, she's Sky Riley. She's the biggest fucking star on a comeback after all this tragedy. She was on the Drew Barrymore show. There's no paparazzi. There's no fucking security. Her mom just rolls up to the apartment building and just drops her off to like go into a
I
place.
thought about
Like,
that
"Oh,
too.
hey,
Yeah.
here you go. You can just go there. So this girl is in the shadows for a year after the wreck, and there's nobody following her, taking pictures, no security, nobody swarming her, nobody could see this descent into madness. Like, where the fuck are all those people at?
I
Yeah.
thought about that too when she like leaves the car and she's just like fully walks out of the car into the building and there's like people walking. I'm like, I don't know. I don't live in like New York and I don't know how that works, but I was like, I feel like people would be like, holy shit, we've seen Sky Riley be dropped off here. This is where she lives.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a good point. Getting into the next thing, we got Morris because I personally think that everything, like, I think he was real and that she did meet him in the bar, but then everything after the bar sequence was all in her imagination.
Yeah,
And-
I agree.
I don't know what happened to Morris after the bar sequence. And I think they should have fleshed that out more or made it like a bigger thing, kind of like Kyle helping out Sosie's character. But I don't know. What do you guys think of the whole Morris thing? Well, Brian, you can go first.
That bothered me a little bit as well because he, like, at least with Kyle Gallner, it was like, okay, he's a policeman, he can go and
Yeah.
do some research and that, and he's just, and then Morris was a nurse, and it's just like, you know what, I've managed to track down Sky Riley, broke into this guy's apartment, managed to unlock his phone somehow because his Face
Mhm.
ID is not going to work on him, is he? He just panned his head in. And it's like, how did you get into that? And then he's like, he knows it's Sky Riley, like, and it's just like, it's too convenient. Like, it was written too conveniently. I would rather, I don't know how she would have figured it out, but like, it was just too simple. I was like, there's no real thought put into that.
Yeah.
I never actually thought about the phone thing either. Where I'm like, how the
Yeah, I
fuck did you get into this guy's phone? And then, I mean, I guess like if you did get into his phone, you would know it's Sky Riley because it says like Sky Riley, and I'm sure
You would think, surely, if Sky Riley's that famous and she's getting in contact with her drug dealer, she's going to be like, don't save me on your phone as Sky Riley, please.
Yeah.
Or like
Give me
use a
give me
burner
pseudonym.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I
even
don't
if
know.
even if it's like a burner phone.
Yeah,
GG.
That's maybe a bit picky, maybe.
Right.
I know. I'm like, I'm trying not to be like too picky about the movie because it's like, some things where it's like, oh, don't look that, hard into it, which is like why I forgive certain things. It's like, okay, whatever, like the paparazzi thing. Okay, who cares? This, that. But there are some like big elements where I'm like, no, this just straight up does not make, this is just bad writing. But I guess that I agree about Morris, like that in the bar he was real. And then anytime after that, maybe he wasn't real and that was just a figment, but we just I guess we don't know. And there's no proof.
Maybe Smile 3, Morris is going to get in contact with every single person at the concert. He's got all their phone numbers somehow. We don't know how. He just does.
He
and
does.
Yeah.
He's going to be the one that tells them everything about the monster, and he's going to be the hero of Smile 3.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't know like
Michael Parker.
why he would be like, I know my voice cracked big time there. Okay, guys.
Life support.
I'm still hungover, okay? I don't know why he would be like a figment of her imagination. Like, why would the demon tell her how to defeat him?
I'll tell you why.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why that whole all of Morris would just be a figment of her imagination.
Apparently,
it
in
doesn't
the
make sense.
bar on the wall where they're sitting, it says "you're fucked" or something. Somebody's written it on the wall, so people are like, "So that's a dream," because like the demon's like, "Haha, you're fucked. This person's not real. I'm just messing with you." Like,
So then, when in the story does
I think he's real.
end?
I don't agree with that theory.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that.
It
Yeah, I was
says
gonna
you're
say.
fucked on the wall.
Something like that. Like, I can't remember exactly, but it's basically like,
Oh,
You're
well,
up
that's
shit
not,
creek.
you can't read in your dreams.
I think that when I was
You
watching
can't.
that,
That part of your brain is asleep.
that part of your brain is asleep. I think that when Morris
not
was
asleep.
introduced, I really believed as a viewer of this film, and I still at that point had a very open mind to where, because I didn't know where it was going, so I was still like hopeful that this is going somewhere that I preferably enjoyed.
Mhm.
So when Morris was introduced, I thought, oh, okay, they're going to give this entity some backstory. They're going to give her some backstory, and there's going to be some actual, real, tangible lore put into this movie, which obviously we know there was zero. But I thought Morris at that point in time was a reflection of her conscience. And then I thought that they were going to state that the entity was basically getting into these people where you had to have an internal battle with yourself. She's dealing with guilt and shame. She's dealing with her drug addiction. She's dealing with, all this trauma and everything she has. So then when Morris transfers into the Pizza Hut freezer and gives her, the idea of stopping your heart and everything, that was like your conscience saying to you, the only way that you can face your fear is if you become a new person and look it in the eyes. And at that point in time, when she had that needle, if she would have stuck it in her neck, fell to the floor, and they would have rolled the credits, I thought it would have been a fucking masterpiece on this is what you need to do to like get over being a shitty person and dealing with your own stuff. Like you're almost like born anew, but then they dragged it on so much after that. So I am going to go with Seth and say that Morris was real at the bar. And then Morris after that was a figment of her imagination. It was just done and told in the worst way possible because He literally like I got to leave this door open because the lock thingy don't work, and puts that brick there and gives her this whole rundown of how to do this and stop this, and that. And he's just like, I'm going to Domino's, and just fucking rolls. And he's gone.
Pizza
Like,
Hut.
what the fuck?
The only risk of doing it that way, where like she puts the needle in and ends.
People would have hated it.
Yeah,
I think
because
it's
that
the
was very
message,
similar
too.
to I'm gonna spoil Lights Out for everybody, because that's what they're doing
Yeah,
Lights Out, and it basically the story, like, to me that reads as, if you've got a mental health issue, there is a way out of this, but you need to
Just
end
kill yourself. Yeah,
but
like that's
I
so,
think it would have been quite a bad message to probably put out there.
Well, it depends.
100%.
I see what you're saying, but I've been through extensive amounts of therapy and dealt with, trauma and addiction counseling and things like that. Like, in essence, to get past them things, you do have to be born, like, theoretically into a new person, because you have to change everything about your life. So metaphorically, is that a bad thing, taking yourself out? But if the scene would have woke up that she came back, they would have had to add something to it, not
if
just
she
like,
stopped her
hey.
own heart and then somehow come back.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I'm saying,
It's kind of like killing your old
Right.
self. I get that.
Yeah, it felt like the intention was there if that's what they were fleshing out, but it just wasn't transferred great. So if we could just clarify, if you have a mental health or an addiction or something like that, there are hotlines, there's help out there.
Yes.
That's not what we're saying, like, at all. I'm just describing a scene from a movie. If you're in the comments, you could DM me and I will put you in the right direction for any help that you would possibly need. That's not what's being conveyed here, just to clarify.
I don't think you were.
No, not at all.
I was
Yeah.
just clearing up why I don't think that would work as an ending.
Yeah.
Because Lights
100%.
Out did that. Like, Lights Out did that as their ending, and I was like,
Right.
"Ooh, that feels icky."
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. Because I get where Chuck is saying, and I get how people could see it that way. But there is strength in being like, okay, I am going to kill this version of myself,
Right.
metaphorically, not
Right,
actual literally. So
Right.
yeah, I get that.
I do have a question for you guys. So because it honestly, adding in Morris just takes you completely out of the film. There's so many events and things that happen that just like you don't know if it was real or if it was fake. And when she goes from just being normal to being at the concert. So
Your
I
poor
know,
little voice over there.
it's dead. It's dead today, guys.
That's
So,
okay. You're great. Just keep
We
going.
love
Thank
you.
We love you so much.
I love you guys too. So like, if he wasn't real, where do you think she basically stopped? Do you think it was like the apartment scene with her friend Gemma? That was like the last actual scene, and then the next morning was the concert? Because if Morris wasn't real, then that like charity dinner never happened. And a few other things. Like, I feel like the whole thing with Gemma not being real, and especially with Brian, you said her mom comes in and doesn't recognize Gemma. I feel like that was the last time that we actually saw Sky Riley, reality. And then the next thing we know, she's at a concert performing.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, even though I just watched it yesterday, I'm already out of sync with what event happened at what moment.
Yeah.
So, because as you say, there's a lot goes on. So I can't remember did we meet Morris before Gemma, or did Gemma come after?
Morris? He was texting
yeah.
her. He was texting her, and then he met her after Gemma.
I kind of
now I'm not sure.
Yeah, I kind of thought that the pushing the old lady in the teleprompter scene was real.
I hope that was real. That was fucking
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
Not the murdering of the mother.
Yeah.
But I think that scene was real, because right after that, she did end up getting admitted into a wellness center.
But that wasn't real, I don't think.
No, but I'm saying, I think that I thought the wellness center part was like right where that, right in the middle of that scene before what happened to the mom. I think that was real. And then the rest of it was in her head, because she was, she had to sit in a hospital bed, deal with the delusion. It got me into this rehab thing. My career's on the line. My mom's still pressuring me because she looks at my bank account, not me as a human being. So you would be enraged in your head. You could see yourself wanting to kill somebody that's pushing you so hard when you need help. And then she would go from the hospital to the concert, and all the rest of it just doesn't exist.
I could see that making sense, because like the demon doesn't have to, like, as soon as the demon's in, everything's fake after that. Because with Smile 1, there was scenes like the birthday party with the cat and stuff. Right. She doesn't remember it happening. So it was like little bits added in. So there might be the whole Gemma thing was fake, fair enough. But then, as you say, the wellness center was real up until a point, and then demon's like, "Now I'm going to mess with you again." But then what happened between there and then? Like, her mom's just like, "Okay, you've not spoken in the bed, but I'm going to go and get you dressed and put you out in the middle of this concert anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
right.
like,
Yeah, like how did she end up on stage if
That's what I'm
like
saying.
was she just catatonic this whole time and then she was like, great, like I don't know. That didn't make sense because they definitely made that a lot more clear in Smile.
Hmm.
And it's not to say that I like really I hope that when people are listening, it's not that I like downright fucking hated the movie. I still gave it a 3 out of 5. I don't think it was great writing at certain parts, but I do see why people really enjoyed it. Had the first Smile not existed, I think that this would have been totally different. I think I would have been looking at this totally differently, but because it doesn't feel like a sequel and it just kind of feels like this somewhat of a reboot just in a different world, I'm like it just felt super unnecessary because we didn't get any new lore or information about this entity and like how to
Yeah.
stop it or where it comes from or anything like that. They literally didn't add anything new whatsoever, but I get why it's super appealing to people because Naomi Scott's character was fucking awesome and it was a lot
Yeah, it
more
was.
stylized and pretty and shit like that. So but yeah, I wish there was something because even when they were about to get there with the whole stopping your heart thing, I was like, cool, this is something new. They're like, just kidding. And I was like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Which
So
feels like an insult.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
it does. And I'm on the other end of the spectrum than you, Gigi. Like, I think leaving the theater, I think a 3 out of 5, maybe a 2.8 out of 5. Like, that's really where I was at. Like, I didn't hate it,
Yeah.
but I just didn't love it. I didn't feel it brought anything new to the table. I thought it was just the same as exactly what our Queen Gigi said. It's just like a rehash add-on 1 point. It's like the bonus features on the Blu-ray that come out that
Yeah.
got cut from the movie. But me being on the opposite end of what you just said, the more I think about it, the more I don't like it. Like I'm to the
Yeah.
point now, like I went from liking it to now I just think not at all. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend, like because the more like we're just sitting there talking and like I'm not angry, but like Brian brings up a point, Seth brings up a point, and Gigi brings up a point, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? That really doesn't fucking make sense now, which makes me like it way less because it doesn't make fucking sense.
And one of the things that I did like about it, and like with it not making sense, is I thought it kind of felt like a 2-hour and 10-minute panic attack because you're just like it's making you fucking think what's going on the entire time. And like I said earlier, though, it kind of does it a disservice because it does it way too fucking much.
Yeah.
But I definitely was uncomfortable. I guess my next question for you guys, because the ending of the movie, I feel like saved it for me in a way, and it sets up a premise that I think would be really cool to be explored. And we'll see. And it kind of feels like it was just this big setup. There's two films where this big setup to see this like demon take over an entire concert. So what do you guys think about the ending? Did you like the big creature? And yeah, like where do you think this is going to go in the next film? Do you think it'll be better than set 2 or what? Gigi's like, I'm going with you first, Gigi.
I I actually liked the reveal better in the first one because it was like super dim and low lighting. I just like the feel of the first one, even though again, I still think that the first Smile is still like a 3 out of 5, but I like the I like the feel of it better where it's like this dreary, dreadful feeling. It's very dark and ominous feeling. And I think they took that away from Smile 2, but I liked the reveal better in one where it's like we're in the old creaky dark house and it actually looks like freaky to me. And then in the second one, it looked super fake and like CGI, whereas like the first one, I know it's a real person in the first one, like an actual costume or whatever, but I don't know this like the reveal in the second one. I was like, oh, this kind of feels very comical, or very like campy, and I didn't like that because the tone of the second one is very glitzy and glamorous and very bright. So of course we're gonna see this like big bright monster on stage. So I didn't like the character as much in the second one, even though it's like the same exact thing. And as far as where it's going to go, because of course this is spoilers, so we know that she kills herself on stage. So now the entity, is it going to pick one person or is it going to infiltrate all of them? From what we've seen, it seems like it's just going to infiltrate one of them. So not really. I don't think that they need to make a Smile 3, to be honest with you.
Chuck.
I agree with Gigi. I think the end was like almost try to do like what The Substance did, like almost make it satirical except the substance is a brilliant, flawless masterpiece that conveyed its undertone of message very well. And Smile was convoluted and didn't explain its message. So having it almost satirical with the message, I could have bought that. Like, it was comical. And if we're just being real honest, like if I am, I mean, the CGI was awful. The way it came out of her. Now, I just seen some stills this guy posted on Instagram. They were like slow frame for frame stills of the creature, and it's badass. Like when you see the still and all the teeth in the mouth and everything like that, like the idea for that is very frightening. And I thought it was like well done in a still, but it looked like it was like it just looked like some kid did it on his computer and they just green screened it over. Like it was Seth, close your ears.
Fine. Just go.
It was as hokey and as terrible as that monstrosity at the end of Alien Romulus.
Hey.
Well, but I'm saying,
Yeah, first of all, that thing was fucking
I've still not seen that, so
sorry.
Spoilers.
Sorry. But it didn't fit that for me. Like, just for me as a viewer, it didn't fit. Like, this didn't fit neither. Like, I liked what Gigi said, like the creepiness, the tone, and I think the only way they can do Smile 3 is if it is everybody. I don't want to see one more person that we know is going to die at the end of the movie. Give it to the whole crowd, and then develop a character that we could all get behind and root for that has to like rid the world of this shit. Like if that's the premise, I'm going to see it. If that's not the premise, I could give less if they ever make a Smile movie again for the rest of my life.
That's a good fact. Sorry, but I if it's like one, because then you're adding something new. If it's one character being like, I am going to be the entity defeater, cool. I would probably tune into that.
Maybe like 3 or 4 more of them if it's just somebody just battling the whole world for this.
Because this is a new story. Yeah,
bring it. I'm in for that.
Brian, before you go, I did actually we're talking about the monster. What are you doing, Ryan?
He's pretending to talk.
The like monster that is in like the freezer, like the eyes and like the way it looked. I hated it, and it like I wish they went with like the creature that you get at the end of the movie, because that kind of also took me out of it a little bit. I was like, what the fuck is this thing? And it wasn't that scary. It seemed just like something you would pull from like a Goosebumps movie or something like that. I don't know.
You liked that, Brian?
Yeah, I thought it was different. I was like, okay, cool. This is.
I didn't mind.
A new look.
Yeah, I didn't mind it neither. And the reason that I didn't mind it is I thought it was her looking in the mirror of the internal self of the bad person that she was. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was like the thing that she had to face, like her inner demon, like.
I was also confused because it didn't, when she had the dark hair, it didn't always look like her.
No, it did not look like her whatsoever.
So is that like how she maybe sees herself, or am I?
In the car accident, it almost looked like a whole different actress.
Yeah.
I was very confused, and I was like, maybe I'm just not very good with faces, but
no. But specifically in the freezer scene, I was like, is this her or is this a stunt double? Because it did not. Because in the car scene, it's like, you can still kind of tell. You can still tell it's her, but like, I thought the same thing. I was like, this isn't her. But I didn't like that little eyeball thing. I'm such a I don't know. That's like my one no is when they try to overdo it with like, let's add glowing, weird, big, bulgy, veiny eyes, and you're like, sometimes it's just fucking creepy. Like the simple things are scary, and I or like even with the mom when she was doing the demon voice, which I know they do it like once in Smile. They do kind of like the demon voice, but it is not as like overdone. With the mom when she turns into like the whole demon voice in the wellness center. I didn't like that either. I was like, oh no. But I have to say, I'm curious. I was talking to the guys on Rewind of the Living Dead, and Patrick was saying he thinks that maybe Parker Finn didn't write that in there, and it was the studio, because of course this is a big budget movie, a big studio, that maybe they were the ones that wanted that stuff in there, because of course, as we know, big studio horror, they love all this weird gimmicky shit like that. And I was like, honestly, that's a good point. Maybe Parker Finn didn't want that, and they were just like, hey, add weird bulging glowing eyes to it, because that's what the people
just felt
want.
out of place.
Totally.
I think Smile 2 could have learned a lot from Smile 1, and it didn't, because Smile works way better as a less is more approach. Like, they took all the scare out of it, all the fright out of it, and literally just relied on 3 jump scares and a convoluted plot.
Yes. Okay, Brian. Now you may speak.
Now you can yap.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing. No, I'm just kidding.
So because we've
Would
got
you like
such a-
some Voss water before you speak?
Let me
only
grab
if I can
mine.
chug it.
Yeah.
So because we don't get a lot of lore, everything we know so far is it can only attach to one person. So that's all they've told us. So that's what we assume would be true. So then we see that ending and we're like, well, is it just going to go to our mum because our mum's just watched her daughter stick a microphone in her eye and kill herself? So logically, it goes to her mum and she's the one. I would like it to go to everybody in the concert, but how are they going to do that? Because they've got a week before every single one of them kills themselves or kills another person, and like it's just going to like how quickly is that going to spread to like the whole world is infected? Like this is COVID now. Like everybody like stay in your home, or everybody's going to die. Like
Yeah.
how do they
That-
do that?
That's a good point because like a lot of these kids in the audience are teenagers and they could spread it by watching TikTok. Like that could be a cool thing. Like this monster just fucking spreads throughout the world.
Yeah, but see, the thing that gets me, and this goes back to my biggest problem, is that they didn't add anything new to Smile 2. So if they had added that it could infect multiple people, then cool. But they didn't. So you're just making up new rules. And that just which I don't know if you like logically added that in there, but you're like, you just made 2 of the same fucking films with the same fucking premise, and then now you're gonna throw that in there to make the third one make sense.
Right,
I would be so annoyed.
And
Yeah.
they had and listen, here's the crazy thing, because going back to it, they had, sorry, I keep moving my cup. They had the absolute opportunity to do it because at the bar when Sky was talking to Morris and he explained that little 30 seconds of the history of tracking down all this people, they could have put in there that I found this book or this old Dead Sea Scroll or something like that. And he could have said to her, listen, we need to stop this now. You're the last one before this thing becomes viral and will just infect everybody. Like they had the opportunity to set that up and they chose not to do that. They just left you wondering like, what the fuck is going to happen here?
Yeah.
I do want to
Right.
know more about the entity, like where it comes from. Like I know they
Yes.
kind of hinted at it like it's a cosmic entity, but like they haven't really given us like any real backstory to it. Like I want to know
Yeah,
it,
I'm
like, history.
okay with not knowing much about it as long as we understand there's a way to beat
Defeat
it.
it. Yeah.
'Cause
Mhm.
if you can't have somebody actually like not maybe beating it, but like getting close, you're like, oh, this person's actually going to do it, and then the evil entity wins again. But just now, nobody's got close. It's taking the piss out of everybody, and it's like I don't need lore. Like I love when a movie's just like this exists. Tough titties.
Yeah.
You're dying, but it's just
Deal with it.
Yeah,
Deal
you're
with it.
dead. You're dead. But that's how I feel too. I don't really need a lot of lore, but give me more of the story of like expanding on this world building that you've already built this fucking entity in, where it's like, okay, cool. If you're not going to give me lore, which I don't need, give me something else to work with. Otherwise, if it's just the same movie, if now Smile 3 is just a teenager that goes through this, I'm like, dude, we do not need 5 of these movies with the same plot. We get it.
I mean, whether we like it or not, Smile 3 is coming. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna top Terrifier at the box office this week.
It hasn't. It didn't. Terrifier still won.
Woo woo.
Oh, it still did?
Yes, Terrifier still won.
Yeah, you
that's-
know what's crazy
Listen,
is
that's
that
fucking great.
no, I was like blown away. My theater for Smile, maybe 10 people in it, maybe 10 people. And Zach went to go see Terrifier 3 the day after we saw Smile 2. The day after, it's already been in theaters, what, 2 weeks now?
Mhm.
And it was packed. He was like, oh my God, there's only like 5 seats left. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Independent cinema is back, baby. I was like, Smile 2 had maybe 10 people in it.
I think I saw something that like Terrifier 3 is one of the highest rated, like unrated movies in theaters this year, and it beat out Night Swim and a few others. And I'm pretty sure that Smile 2 made like 12 million in the box office, and I think Terrifier is up to like 18 or 20 or something like that. So
That's nuts.
Pretty
That
nuts.
is
Good-
an
good for it.
accomplishment.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a Terrifier fan, as we've mentioned. Like, I think 3 was decent,
Yeah.
but Terrifier 3 shits all over Smile 2. Like,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're saying to me,
I
what
agree,
would you
yeah.
rather watch? Which is a shame because
Terrifier.
if it was Smile versus Terrifier 1 and 2, Smile every time. But yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
and it's
because
frustrating.
honestly, same. It's like my problem with Terrifier is that I personally just don't like the storyline because that's just not my jam. Like the whole fantasy thing isn't my jam. But I'm like, at least he's expanding on a storyline. Like with every movie, we are getting more and more lore, but not these big budget ones. It's like just they're regurgitating stuff that we've already
Yeah.
seen. So,
I
100%.
I like the ending of Smile 2, and I think, like I said, I think it sets up a whole kind of cool thing. We'll see where it goes. But I did want to ask one last thing too. With
Oh,
like,
wait, so where do you think it's going to go, Seth? Because you never said if you think it's going to be
Oh,
multiple.
Oh
or one.
yeah.
I think it'll be multiple people. I don't think they could do just one person. I don't know how they're gonna do it. Like how you could make a movie with that many people infected, but I
Maybe it'd
don't.
be like a superhero movie all of a sudden, and it's like, okay,
Right.
we've got a team that's got to go out and investigate, like find all these people that are away to kill themselves, and it sounds so bad, but like I don't understand. I don't
It's like-
understand how they can like 1,000 people, even what I don't know how many people are at a concert, 10,000, 20,000.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like-
Especially like a world tour. God, there's probably like 20,000 people there.
Like,
Yeah.
there's literally no way I can figure out that they can do this, and
Yeah.
it makes sense. I
And
know,
like
I
the
know it's a
entity
fucking horror
is just
movie,
gonna like
but-
blip, 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 blip.
What would
This
be
little-
good would be, so the entity is like, okay, I need to get into one person, but he's like, fuck, there's so many people, so it's just kind of floating around constantly, like, oh shit, how do I get into these people? And then we just follow the entity trying to find
He's
a
like,
person to infect.
"Ah,
He's like,
I'm
he's one of the most-
overwhelmed.
for 2 hours
I'm
in trying to find a
overwhelmed.
person with the most trauma. He's like, oh, hold on, no, you've got trauma. No, you've got more
Right.
trauma. And then that's it. And then it just dies because it can't find a person.
Smile 2 only didn't beat Terrifier this weekend because Terrifier 2 has been out for 2 weeks. Smile 2 made $23 million this weekend at the box office, and Terrifier 3 only made 9.8
Oh, never mind.
this weekend. But as a total, Terrifier 2 still stands on top.
Yeah.
That's according to Screen Rant as
Yeah,
of
that
like
makes sense.
5 hours ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it did 23 million for 3 days. I mean, that's pretty good.
It is good.
Although
I don't know what the budget was.
Probably 100 million, I'd be 60 million to 100 million, I would imagine.
Most of that would be on Voss Water, I assume.
Mhm,
Yeah.
I mean, I
pay
think
the bill.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beautiful thing about it is, 3 of the top 5 movies at the box office are horror movies, which is
It's a
Beetlejuice,
huge fucking
Terrifier,
win.
and Smile. Yeah, no, and people need to fucking take note of how powerful horror movies are. So, like, I'm glad
Yeah.
people are supporting it. Like, and we're gonna get a third one. Like, I guess,
Yeah.
fuck, I'm in. Let's see it.
I know you have a question, Seth, but one thing
Yeah.
I'm hoping the people, if they watch this, like I am totally open to being told like how wrong I am about certain scenes. Like,
Oh, yeah,
no, you
same.
missed this. So if you love the movie and you're like, you clearly missed
Please tell us.
all of
Yes.
this stuff. Like I will give it like another watch. Be like, you know what, you're totally right. This movie is incredible. But if you just like it, that's cool. Like us not liking it makes no difference to you liking it. Like
I'll send it to you, Brian. I watched a breakdown movie because there's this kid that's on like his 9th video of why Smile 2 is the best horror movie of the year, which is a bold fucking statement.
Yeah. I think it's the
And-
best one of the best performances of the year. I'll say
Oh,
that.
yeah.
well, without a doubt, yeah,
Yeah.
she was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's not better than Demi Moore.
No, but one
No.
of the best, but
Yeah.
not the best, but
Yeah.
one of the best, I would
Yeah,
say
she's
that.
great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love her. Yeah. I want to see more of her, just not
Yeah.
Smile.
Yes.
Well,
But-
we won't see any more on Smile.
I want to
so
see her in a
microphone
Voss.
in
She's
her
dead.
face.
I want to see her in a Voss commercial.
You
I
just did.
Right.
You just did.
Yeah.
Before I get into my last question, and Chuck, I know you brought up Beetlejuice. The reason for my voice cracking so much today is because I had a birthday party last night and I dressed up as Beetlejuice. So sorry to our listeners for my voice cracking every 5 fucking seconds.
It's not the listeners you need to apologize because it keeps squeaking. Gigi's dogs are going mental in the background.
They're like, is there a squeaky toy in here?
That's amazing. I'm the fucking squeaky toy. I look like
Uh.
fucking the Chuck E. Cheese doll without my fucking beard. So, but the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is
There's Seth as Beetlejuice.
oh, there it is.
For the
Ryan.
at-home viewers,
yeah. For the video
Ryan,
viewers.
you should put it over my face in this section
Yes,
when you do
I
the
will,
video.
I will.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, because I know we kind of touch upon this. A lot of people obviously have said, like, this is the best movie of the year, or this is the scariest movie of the year. I think it does it like a disservice to
Yes.
movies. And I don't think this movie is the scariest of the year. I think there's a couple good scares in here. There's definitely been scarier movies. I think Smile 1 was scarier than this film. Do you think, even though it's crushing in the box office, do you think that hurts it in the long run that people are calling it and claiming it to be the scariest movie of the year?
think it depends who's claiming that, because like we all know, we've all, like, even before we started this podcast, we were talking about movies
Yeah.
that I liked and you guys didn't like as much. So if I said to me that's the scariest movie of the year, that's true. It's not. It's obviously it's not. But so if people are saying it because they got access to the premiere and they're like, "Fuck, I need to see this," so Paramount invites me to the next premiere. Okay, that's a bit shady. But I think there will be people that this is the scariest movie of the year for them, and more power to them. I wish it was the scariest movie of the year to me. It didn't work for me. So yeah, it's who's saying it is what's important.
I love that. Gigi?
Yeah, and yeah, what's scary is subjective. Like what's scary to me is not going to be scary to everybody. Do I think it's the scariest movie? No, I didn't really find it scary at all, other than it being like jump scary. Yes, there were a lot of like jump scares and loud noises, but so my also my standard of or my definition of scary is different. Like
Yeah.
those things aren't, I don't really classify those as scary. I classify those as jump scary. I classify other movies as like scary. So and so I don't know, like I think it kind of does a disservice, but I also think that it just causes more of a discussion. So do I think that people should do that? No, I hate it when people do that, but I get it. To some people it is the scariest movie of the year.
Yeah. Chuck?
I mean, I think it shows a lot of different things. Like, and just for the audience, like if I don't like a movie, listen here, like if you loved it and you think it's the scariest movie of the year, I'm jealous of you. Like, because that's why I went to see the fucking movie. Like, I want to be scared and I want to enjoy it. And like, it just didn't hit for me. But if it hit for you, I'm happy for you. The power in marketing we've seen so many times this year. You know, we've seen it with Long Legs. We've seen it with so many different things that, you know, people almost get programmed into the marketing to either be disappointed or think it's the scariest movie of the year. You know, I mean, and Smile 2 was heavily marketed. The marketing is better than the movie because it's absolutely genius what they did. So I don't know if it does a disservice. I mean, it did $23 million in the box office, so I don't think it does a disservice.
No.
I think it puts asses in seats, and they got to do what they got to do, and they've been doing it since the 60s. So
Yeah.
I honestly, this is why I asked the question. I loved all these answers, and like I want to hammer home that like what somebody finds scary might not be scary to you or to the next person. It's subjective. So, you know, go see it, judge it for yourself, and we hope you enjoyed Smile as much as we all did. And on that note, Gigi, take us away.
Well, thank you for listening. And as always, you can find us on every podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, everything. We also upload our videos. Well, we also upload them to our podcast platforms, but we are on YouTube in case you prefer that kind of format. We also have links in our bio for different ways to support us if you feel so inclined to, but even just listening and sharing and liking helps us out a ton. So thank you for listening every week, and we will be back next week. What's our topic next week? I don't even.
Halloween.
Undecided, I thought.
this
Halloween.
is Halloween.
I think
This is
Halloween. We got a ton of
Halloween.
Halloweeny stuff because next week is Halloween. So I feel like October's like flying by.
Yeah,
But
it is.
we hope that you've been enjoying these like extra movie episodes. These have become our favorite episodes, especially when we have so much to talk about, an hour and 3 minutes worth of talking about it. But thank you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
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 Bye, Boss Water.
Oh yeah.
Bye, Voss Water.